Welcome to A Mason's Work, the podcast where we review Masonic symbols and illustrate how they can be used to solve problems in everyday life. With your host, Brian Mattox, a proud member of the Craftsman Online Media Network.
We spoke briefly yesterday about the role of the guide and what the guide is and what it does, but from a behavioral level for your own sort of internal use, it's important to understand what the guide function represents in your own sort of headspace. How can you guide yourself? It's a really interesting question. When we look at our own behavior, there will very likely be parts of what we do and things that we choose to do that may seem mysterious. We may not know why we do the things we do. We may not do some of the stuff that is always the best for us. Maybe not the healthiest, or not the most nourishing, or not the most respectful of our own mental and emotional and physical health. So when we talk about the guide, we're talking for ourselves about extending that care and concern to note well when we are stumbling and struggling and alter our path, to observe when we are doing things that don't work, to evaluate alternative strategies. The guide does not ever provide answers. In fact, it's impossible for the guide to do so. The guide is not an education role. The guide is not super informative in that regard. The guide's responsibility is essentially to notice the situation, evaluate the path you're taking, or the behaviors you have, or the things you're doing, and note whether or not those are in helping you achieve your objectives, whatever they might be. So if you're trying, I keep using losing weight because it's kind of the easy and obvious angle. Most everyone in life has at some point tried to either lose or gain weight. When we look at the guide, it's, the guide's responsibility is not necessarily to like smack the donut out of your hand, right? Guides don't do that. What the guide will say is, listen, the behaviors that you're undertaking right now, I have to adapt our course to match. So either we can, an example of the diet, we can take the donuts out of the house, or make the donuts a special occasion item, or alter our path in some way so that it doesn't lead us straight to donuts every day, right? Now, it's an oversimplified example for those of you that are struggling with eating disorder. I certainly don't mean to trivialize this, but it is important to essentially take something that most people know and try and apply some of these principles that we have in the craft. And so your internal experience might be much more nuanced and much more subtle and much more involved and engaging and difficult. So again, don't mistake the example as trivializing your plight if you're experiencing, that as a difficulty. But when we talk about guiding ourselves as well, the guide really does not offer meaningful judgment. That function just evaluates the situation. It is like an awareness function. It observes and notices the situation and directs the candidate, or directs yourself appropriately. When you're doing this in the room for a brother, it's a lot of it is just making sure that people that you're helping through this process feel cared for. They feel safe. They feel like the risks that they may be taking are ones that are within a tolerable comfort level. And so in the same way, when you apply this to yourself, you're going to want to conduct a little bit of like a risk analysis. Like, hey, am I doing something right now that represents a high risk behavior? And will that undermine my objectives long term? And so take this guide process, internalize it a bit. I would love to hear some of the ways that you have guided yourself and your own behavior in that compassionate space where you notice and observe and then maybe pass on to the other roles in the lodge, in your mental head lodge, those roles to other officers that may have helped to craft better solutions than the guide is capable of creating. So use this work and sort of share with us what you got, and we'll put it out here on the channel, or we'll put it out on the blog, or what have you. Help a brother out. Thanks.
The views represented in this podcast are those of the speaker alone and are not representative of any grand or subordinate lodge.
Hi, Brian here. I wanted to thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you have any suggestions or guidance for further episodes you'd like to see or hear, whatever the case may be, please don't hesitate to reach out to me at amasonswork.com, and we will try and incorporate your suggestions into a future recording. Thanks.
Freemasonry teaches us that the true work is within, a lifelong journey of reflection, discipline, and discovery. At A Mason's Work, we help Masons bring out their best selves through meaningful self-inquiry and symbolic practice. From personal reflection to lodge engagement, we offer tools that turn symbols into action. Visit us at amasonswork.com. The work is within. The time is now.